Good afternoon, and welcome to the second broadcast of a Sunday Vespers hymn sing from Second Presbyterian Church here in Portsmouth, Ohio. I'm Dr. Stanley Workman, Director of Music, and I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Justin Wiget, Director of Music at All Saints Episcopal Church. Last week, we asked you to submit your hymn requests, and I'm happy to say that we have received a good number of them. So today our broadcast will be entitled By Request, as we sing those requests for you. We received so many that we will be saving a few of your requests for our next broadcast. Our first request is Trust and Obey, and goes out especially to one of our Hillview listeners. It was written in the 1880s by Presbyterian minister John Sammis at the suggestion of Daniel B. Towner, a soloist for a series of revival meetings conducted by Dwight L. Moody. In a testimony service, he heard a young man say, "I am not quite sure, but I am going to trust, and I am going to obey." Towner jotted down the words and sent them to his friend, Reverend Sammis, who immediately wrote the refrain and eventually the verses. Towner then provided the tune, and the hymn was first published in 1887.
When we walk with the Lord in the light of His word, what a glory He sheds on our way. While we do His good will, He abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Not a burden we bear, not a sorrow we share, but a toil He will richly repay. Not a grief nor a loss, not a frown nor a cross, but is blessed if we trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. But we never can prove the delights of His love until all on the altar we lay. For the favor He shows and the joy He bestows are for them who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. Then in fellowship sweet we will sit at His feet, or we'll walk by His side in the way. What He says we will do, where He sends we will go. Never fear, only trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus
The next hymn goes out to our dear friends in Erwin, Tennessee. Inspired by the words of Exodus 33, verse 22, the hymn, He Hideth My Soul, is a great hymn of trust and reliance in God for strength, comfort, and renewal of the spirit and soul. It was written by the great hymn writer Fanny Crosby, to whom we paid tribute in our last broadcast. Instead of bemoaning her sightless existence, Mrs. Crosby became known for her songs of praise to God, and she knew where her true treasure was to be found. It was not in sight, which can be taken away, but in God and a relationship with Him that would never end.
Wonderful Savior is Jesus my Lord, a wonderful Savior to me. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, where rivers of pleasure I see. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of His love, and covers me there with His hand, and covers me there with His hand. With numberless blessings each moment He crowns, and filled with His fullness divine, I sing in my rapture, glory to God, for such a Redeemer as mine. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of His love, and covers me there with His hand, and covers me there with His hand. When clothed in His brightness, transported I rise, to meet Him in clouds of the sky. His perfect salvation, His wonderful love, I'll shout with the millions on high. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of His love, and covers me there with His hand, and covers me there with His hand.
I'm sending this next hymn out to Wilma James, longtime member of Second Presbyterian Church. In Times Like These was written by Ruth K. Jones during the height of World War II. It was written in the midst of a busy housewife's day and came, according to Mrs. Jones, as a direct inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Though it was written as a response to the stresses and strains of wartime living, it has been a source of comfort, not only for the many difficult situations in the Christian life, but also speaks to those who are far from God and need His personal salvation. Mrs. Jones was also actively involved in a music ministry with her family, producing a popular radio program, A Visit with the Joneses. Listeners will find it most interesting that there is a connection with the Jones family to Portsmouth, Ohio. Mrs. Jones' son, Edmund, was the pastor of First United Methodist Church here in Portsmouth for several years. During his time here, his family made a visit, providing several musical services, led by Edmund Jones' brother, the Reverend Bert Jones, who was a gifted organist. I remember being deeply impacted by these services, and I also had the privilege of singing for the family. Thinking back, I'm sure they were probably ready for lunch after the long Sunday morning service, but the Jones family took the time to validate my youthful aspirations, and I will always be grateful.
In times like these, you need a Savior. In times like these, you need an anchor. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. This rock is Jesus. Yes, He's the one. This rock is Jesus, the only one. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. In times like these, you need the Bible. In times like these, oh, be not idle, be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. This rock is Jesus. Yes, He's the one. This rock is Jesus, the only one. Be very sure, be very sure. Your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. In times like these, I have a Savior. In times like these, I have an anchor. I'm very sure, I'm very sure. My anchor holds and grips the solid rock. This rock is Jesus.
A request by my mother and several others, In the Garden is a hymn beloved by many. It was written and composed by C. Austin Miles in 1912 and is based on Mary Magdalene's experience as she met Jesus in the garden outside the open tomb on Easter morning.
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
This Is My Father's World was written by Reverend Maltby Davenport Babcock during his first pastorate in a Presbyterian church. The poem, published in 1901, was inspired by his early morning walks. As he would depart, he would say, "I'm going out to see my Father's world." This request actually comes from me, and it is one of my favorite hymns. My earliest memory of this hymn comes from when I was a very young boy. This hymn would be playing on the radio as we had our breakfast every Sunday morning, before Sunday school. I think it was a children's Bible program, but I remember very distinctly the sound of those children's voices singing, "This is my Father's world." Later on, when I began my music ministry at Second Presbyterian, it was always such a great joy to teach this song to my children's choirs, They loved it as much as I did, reveling in the vivid images of nature, and they especially loved the words of the last verse. This is my Father's world. The battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and earth and heaven be one.
This is my Father's word, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's word. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. His hands the wonders wrought. This is my Father's word. The birds their carols raise, the morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's word. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. This is my Father's word. Oh, let me never forget that though the wrong seems oft so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's word. The battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and heaven and earth be one.
Kim Bentley's mother and several others have requested this next hymn. It Is Well With My Soul was inspired by two tragic events in the life of Horatio Spafford, a Chicago lawyer. He lost his 4-year-old son in the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Then, in 1873, he suffered the loss of his 4 daughters in an accident at sea. The family was scheduled to travel in Europe in November of 1873, but a last-minute business development prevented Spafford from traveling, so Spafford sent his wife and daughters on ahead. In mid-ocean, their ship collided with an English sailing ship and foundered. Of the 5, only Mrs. Spafford was rescued, cabling her husband that she was saved alone. Spafford set out immediately for Europe, and as the ship passed near where his daughters died, he was inspired to write this immortal and beloved hymn.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trial should come, let this blessed assurance control that Christ has regarded my helpless estate, and He shed His own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul.
This next hymn goes out to a longtime member of Second Presbyterian who no longer lives in the area. Lead On, O King Eternal is one of the favorite hymns of the church. It was written in 1887 by Ernest Shurtleff at the request of his seminary class for their upcoming graduation ceremony. This hymn, for all of its military imagery, is really a prayer for God's guidance. It looks forward to the celebration of victory, not with clashing swords and stirring drums, but with deeds of love and mercy, acknowledging that Christ calls us to conquer the world by demonstrating love and showing mercy rather than by using force. The rousing tune was composed by 19th century English organist and composer Henry Smart.
Lead on, O King eternal, the day of march has come. Henceforth in fields of conquest, thy tent shall be our home. Through days of preparation, thy grace has made us strong, and now, O King eternal, never shall cease, and holiness shall whisper the sweet Amen of peace. For not with swords loud clashing, nor roll of stirring drums, with deeds of love and mercy, the heavenly kingdom comes. Lead on, O King eternal, we follow not with fears, for gladness breaks like morning where'er thy face appears. Thy cross is lifted o'er us, we journey in its light. The crown awaits the conquest. Lead on, O God of might.
Thanks again for joining us for this Vespers hymn sing service. We're glad you tuned in. Again, if you have a request that you would like to hear, we'll be back again next Sunday at 4 p.m. with another round of hymns. So if you have a request, give us a call at secondpres 740-353-4159. That's 740-353-4159. Be well and be blessed.